If you had told me at the start of the semester that my 1A term at Waterloo would fly by, I probably would have laughed at you. Back then, I was homesick. I was struggling to adjust to the fast pace of university courses, and it honestly felt that every week was taking a toll on me. But now, 4 months later, I've crossed the finish line, and I think that along the way, I've found my footing. So, from fun class projects to case competitions to finally wrapping up my exams, here's a look back at the final stretch of my first term, all documented. Good morning. It is a very exciting day because I am attending podcon. To all the grade 12s out there applying to Waterloo, you probably heard about the AIF. It's basically your chance to tell the Waterloo Admissions Committee all about yourself. On my AIF, one thing that I wrote about was podcon, and it's a case competition for aspiring product managers that I was just really hoping to be a part of. So fast forward to now, the fact that I was actually attending it felt kind of surreal. Now, I went into the day thinking, I want my team and I to win. Spoiler alert, we didn't. But honestly, that day ended up being such a great learning experience because it gave me a real taste of what it's like to be an actual product manager. All the teams were challenged to pitch a plan for using VR headsets to train TD employees. So in less than 6 hours, we brainstormed, created, and pitched a full presentation, and we even got to hear from a senior manager at TD. Oh, and a little embarrassing side note, but I also learned that I'm terrible at sprinting. Overall though, that day taught me so much, and I'm really glad I stepped out of my comfort zone and went for it. This week, my biggest project is a SolidWorks project, and SolidWorks is a 3D modeling software. We have the chance to model any vehicle of our choosing, so it can be sea, land, air, it can even be fictional. I wanted to challenge myself and try and model Cinderella's pumpkin carriage. Something about SolidWorks, it's not easy. Honestly, I'd say it's actually a lot like coding. One tiny bug, one error in the geometry of your 3D model, and you become stuck. You're just unable to move forward with your design. Even though I had a solid plan in mind for how I wanted to model everything, I kept running into these small errors that made progress feel slow and frustrating. But as challenging as it was 10 times more satisfying when I finally found solutions to those problems and I started to see Cinderella's carriage slowly come to life. Learning this software was hard, but by the end of the semester, 3D modeling became one of the things I enjoyed the most. Okay, so by far, one of the most interesting things I did this semester was participate in a hearing study. Basically, we had to have a conversation with a friend where we describe a picture we were looking at, and they tried to figure out what was in our picture that was missing from their own picture. Does that kind of make sense? The researchers would track our eye movements using these high-tech looking glasses, and they also recorded everything that we said. I must say, the whole setup was really cool. Overall, I'd say that the entire experience was just super unique. It's not every day that you get to be part of research like this, and I even got the chance to talk more in depth to the guy who was running the study, which really just gave me a new perspective on how studies are conducted and how much detail and effort goes into them. Definitely one of the highlights of my semester for sure. Alright, it's now time for a little snack intermission. I most definitely would not have survived this past term if I did not have good food to carry me through. So while it was still fall, I discovered this complete and absolute love for stovetop cinnamon apples. Whether it was for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I would always be in the mood for these, and that just really shows you how deep my obsession was for cinnamon apples at the time. It's really easy and fast too, just chopping up some apples, adding some water, and then letting them sit on the stove for 10 to 15 minutes. The aromas and scents that the cinnamon would create, it's just out of this world. And when you're inhaling all of that, it would just always put me in this nice fall and winter mood. So I genuinely could not ask for more. I would usually pair these apples with oatmeal or granola and yogurt, but Either way, it tasted equally delicious. These are my most favorite things in the world. I don't even know how to describe it. They're salted egg buns, and the salted egg is almost just like liquid, and it's so delicious. It just makes me so happy when I have these. Nice. Look at that. This is my favorite dessert. I'm gonna enjoy this now. In addition to food, another thing that healed me with every passing week was watching K-dramas. I don't know about you, but by the time I got to Friday, it's like I could physically feel the weight of the week on my shoulders, and my brain was simply incapable of working or doing anything. I really just needed an evening to de-stress, let loose, and unwind, so my Friday evenings were specifically dedicated to that. I spent a lot of time watching Love Next Door. It's so good, and some of these episodes were really playing with my emotions and tugging on my heartstrings, but it did so in the best way possible, and it was a most welcome escape from reality. It is currently my very last week in my 1A for my first term here at Waterloo Engineering. Currently it is Wednesday, and I have a physics test in less than 20 minutes. And usually before tests, I feel really nervous and the stress and worry just starts hitting full force. So I decided that I would take some time to just be outside. Currently I'm on the 5th floor of E7, and this floor is for the Department of Computer Engineering, but they have this really nice rooftop. And I thought it'd be nice to just have some fresh air to clear my mind before the test starts. I also have this amazing dog as my companion, so what more could a girl ask for? Even though it is a bit chilly, I think the cold is refreshing, and I'm all decked out in my winter gear. I'm super excited to take you through the rest of this week and give you a glimpse into my last week of the term. Luckily, physics turned out to be a success. As I took more tests, the way I approached them definitely changed and improved over time. At first, I remember I tried to complete entire physics problem sets before each test, but not only was it super long and tedious, and I'm talking hours, it also wasn't very effective. Over the weeks, I started to notice patterns, and I learned how to spot the types of questions that were most likely to show up on the tests. By focusing on those more strategically, I saw a real improvement in my marks. Now, after any kind of assessment, my go-to recovery mechanism is treating myself to some good food. So I whipped up a really quick lunch, and yes, I know mangoes and rice might sound like a strange combination, but trust me, mango fried rice is so good. This meal was honestly exactly what I needed after the stress of the morning. Hi everyone, it is Thursday and I'm headed to the library on the 6th floor to hopefully get some good studying in. As the final week of the term rolled around, winter had officially arrived. We had our first snowfall here at Waterloo, and let me tell you, the chill in the air was real. With the days getting shorter, I also noticed that my focus and concentration was starting to slip quite a bit. If I'm being honest, I spent a lot of my time distracted, scrolling on my phone, struggling to understand a lot of different course concepts, and all the while I was just feeling really trapped and almost suffocated in my room. Here's a little confession. I didn't visit the library once all semester until the very last week. But on this day, I finally decided to brave the cold and give studying outside my room a shot. Changing up my study space made a really good difference actually. Being surrounded by other people who all looked hard at work really helped me lock in and stay on track. And I think there's also just something about that atmosphere of productivity that's really motivating when you're at the library. That said, at the end of the day, my room is still my favorite place to study because what can I say? I'm just a homebody through and through. As a little study break, I went to a gingerbread making event that NSHOC was hosting. So you're supposed to actually decorate the gingerbread man, but I was so hungry that I just ate it and went straight back to the library. I know, it actually feels so wrong and almost violating to eat a gingerbread man like that, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Although I had finally made it to the end of the week, my work was unfortunately not over yet. I had applied to a design team here at Waterloo, and I had to prepare for an interview with them. One of the interview requirements was a 15 to 20 minute design case study presentation on a project that you were part of and that you had worked on. And it was my first time ever making a presentation that big and related to a topic like that. But I learned a lot, and I'm really crossing my fingers that I hopefully did well. Finals week was rough. It is the big day. It is the day of my calculus exam. I'm feeling very nervous. It's statics exam day. I feel very cooked. Let's just go. I know my mind will not get over the fact that I messed that up, so I'm really sad, but it's okay. Calc and physics, my first two exams, they actually both took something out of me. Those exams were no joke. My days felt like they were on repeat. Wake up, eat, study, sleep, and do it all over again. I'm back in my room. I feel like I'm a prisoner sending videos to you from my cell, and my cell is my room. Honestly, it felt like the lines between all my days were blurring together, and the only things keeping me going were 1, good snacks and warm drinks, of course, and 2, most importantly, the thought that I'd be home soon. All I had to do was push through, and that thought became my anchor, and it kept me going. Oh, and I have to mention this. I saw this super niche TikTok the other day, but if you know, you know. Finals week for me was basically just binging YouTube videos to learn everything I didn't understand during lectures from the past term. So shout out to organic chemistry tutor and Jeff Hansen. They were the real MVPs of my exam season. I really don't think I could have survived without them. That week felt endless, but finally, blissfully, it was over. I packed up my dorm and my parents came to help me load everything into the car. For the next 4 months, I'll be back home in Mississauga and starting my first ever co-op term where I'll be working downtown Toronto, which is super exciting but nerve-wracking all at the same time. I won't lie, leaving Waterloo was really bittersweet. Sure, those months came with a lot of stress, but I know I'll miss all my friends, the familiar faces, the daily routines, and the little moments that made this term really special. But as one chapter ends, another begins. It feels so good to be home sweet home, and I'm excited to see what's next in store for me. So here's to the next adventure.